Glad to have you join us on this episode of the Nigerian Navy Today. I am Jibrin Baba Ndachi. One of the features of democracy is civilian control of the military. In line with these global best practices, while the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Nigeria appoints the Chief of Defense Staff and Service Chiefs, the National Assembly, particularly the Senate, has the constitutional mandate to screen the strategic military leaders. In fulfillment of this constitutional mandate, on Thursday, 13 July 2023, the Senate screened and confirmed the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Chris Musa, Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tariq Lagbaja, Chief of the Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala, and Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Hassan Abubakar. This episode of the Nigerian Navy Today shall focus on the screening and confirmation of the CDS and service chiefs. Also, Enugu State Governor Peter Mba paid a courtesy visit on the Chief of the Naval Staff at the Naval Headquarters. Please stay with us for this and other regular segments of the program.
The Nigerian Air Force on Saturday 15th July 2023 held a flyout parade in honor of the immediate past Chief of the Air Staff, Air Marshal Oladayo Amao. The event, which took place at NAF Parade Ground in Abuja, was attended by the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Defense, Dr. Ibrahim Kana, the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Christopher Musa, the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tariq Lagbaja, the Chief of the Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala, and the current Chief of the Air Staff, Hassan Abubakar. Former service chiefs, top serving and retired military officers, among other dignitaries. Fly Out is a ceremony usually organized by the Nigerian Air Force for exiting chiefs after a successful service to the nation. It was a moment of honor as the EC-135 NAF helicopter landed the parade arena with all service chiefs, both past and present, with top military personnel, escorted Air Marshal Oladayo Amao into the aircraft as it flew out of the arena, which marks his retirement from the Nigerian Air Force. The Executive Governor of Enugu State, His Excellency Peter Ndubuisi Mba, on Tuesday, July 11, 2023, paid a courtesy visit to the Chief of the Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala, Admiralty Medal, at Naval Headquarters, Abuja. The visit, according to the governor, was to congratulate the Navy boss on his appointment as the 22nd Indigenous Chief of the Naval Staff of the Nigerian Navy, following his appointment by the Commander-in-Chief of the Nigerian Armed Forces, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, on 19th June 2023. Governor Peter Mba said the visit was to identify with the naval chief and solicited partnership with the Nigerian Navy to tackle the menace of insecurity in the state and the southeast.
We needed to heighten our security architecture and to mobilize all the security agencies in our state to be able to deal with this. And thus far, we're getting the support, the required support we need from the various security agencies. And we're also hoping that we're going to elicit the Navy on board to join hands with us to be able to deal with these big elephant in the room.
saying his administration has zero tolerance for any breakdown of law and order, which according to him is inhibiting business and development.
3 days after my swearing in, I convened a Security Council meeting, and following from that, we made an announcement that we wanted the sit-at-home thing, the Mondays sit-at-home, to end, because we had zero tolerance to that. It was just no way we're able to achieve this exponential growth picture we have painted, these massive promises we've made to our people about growing our economy, eradicating poverty. It would not happen if we did not deal with that problem.
He stated emphatically that he took an oath to defend the unity of the country and the security of the state, adding that he will do whatever possible to ensure he keeps to his oath.
I told my people that when I was sworn in, I took an oath to defend and protect the unity of this country. And that is exactly what we will do. And we're not going to endorse any behavior that is outside that.
The governor called on the Nigerian Navy to expand its operational activities to the state, adding that his administration was ready to partner with the Navy and other security services to put an end to insecurity challenges in the southeast.
So what, in effect, we're saying is that we would be looking forward to partnering with the Navy in those areas that it is necessary to do so in order to achieve our common goal of building one unified country, peace and security.
In his remarks, the Chief of the Naval Staff said the relationship between the Nigerian Navy and other stakeholders like state government has been instrumental to the overall security of the nation, assuring the governor of the determination of the armed forces to end the security challenges.
Well, I have to state here that the relationship between the Nigerian Navy and other stakeholders like state governments have been very, very instrumental to the successes that we have been achieving over the years.
He also disclosed that the Navy was planning to establish a permanent base in the state in order to contribute to peace efforts.
We are also having in our strategic plan a vision of having a permanent presence within Enugu State to contribute to peace and security of the state with the overall objective of promoting economic well-being and of the citizenry.
The Navy boss says the current security situation facing the government requires a whole-of-government approach, noting that there is a naval base in Oguta in Imo State, which has played a vital role in respect to fighting insecurity.
The current internal security challenges facing this country requires a whole-of-government approach. We do not just see these challenges as a purely naval challenges, but a whole-of-government approach, and that is why we have extended our operations to cover both the maritime domain and even the land spectrum. And that is why even in our total spectrum maritime strategy, which covers 5 spectrums of operation, the land area forms a vital aspect of that strategy. And based on this strategy, we have extended our operations to several places. You may be aware of the naval outpost in Onitsha, where we have our special forces deployed, and they have been contributing to the security, particularly in the southeast region. Similarly, we also have a naval base Oguta in Imo State, which has played vital role with respect to fighting insecurity within that region.
The Chief of the Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala, assured the governor that the Nigerian Navy will continue to support and collaborate with states for mutual benefits and progress of the country. It will be recalled that the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, on 19th June 2023, appointed new service chiefs for the Nigerian Armed Forces. And in line with the Act establishing the Armed Forces Section 18, Subsection 1 of the Armed Forces Act 2004, wrote the Senate requesting the confirmation of the appointment of the new service chiefs. The request, contained in a letter transmitted to Senate President Godswill Akpabio and read during Tuesday 11th July plenary, requested the Senate confirmation of the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Christopher Musa, the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Taoreed Lagbaja, the Chief of the Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala, and the Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Hassan Abubakar. Senate on Thursday, 13th July 2023, during plenary, in a motion moved by the Senate Majority Leader Opeyemi Bamidele, requested the Senate suspend its Order 1B and Rule 1B to make provision for the admittance into the chamber, the Special Advisor to the President on National Assembly, and the service chiefs.
Distinguished Senators, I move that the Senate do admit the special advisors to the President on National Assembly matters, the nominees and other officers of the armed forces who are here for the purpose of the confirmation hearing. Mr. President, I so move.
Mr. President, I wish to second the motion ably moved by Leader of the Senate, that the Senate hereby allow the Special Advisor to the President on National Assembly matters and the 4 nominees and other strangers that may be with them to proceed into the chambers of the Senate. I so second.
A motion has been moved by the Leader of the Senate and seconded by the Minority Leader that the Senate do hereby suspend its rules to allow strangers to enter into the chambers and accordingly invite the newly appointed service chiefs to approach with other strangers into the chambers of the Senate. Those who are in support of this motion say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
The Senate thereafter dissolved into a closed session to admit and screen the nominees, led by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly matters, Senate Abdullahi Gumel, into the chamber, the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Christopher Musa, the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Taoreed Lagbaja, the Chief of the Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala, and the Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Hassan Abubakar. Upon their arrival, the nominees were subjected to the Senate's protocol where they were asked to introduce themselves. As the service chiefs took turns to highlight their career profiles and professional experiences, as well as their plans for their respective forces.
The Senate President, sir, distinguished senators, I now most respectfully present myself for your screening and seek your subsequent confirmation of my appointment as the Chief of Defense Staff of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you very much, sir. Distinguished Senate President, sir, distinguished senators, I hereby present myself for your screening and subsequent
confirmation as the Chief of Army Staff. Thank you, sir.
I thank you, sir, for this opportunity, and I hereby present myself to be screened and to be considered for confirmation as the Chief of Naval Staff of Nigeria.
Distinguished senators, I am highly delighted to be here to present myself for screening and eventual confirmation as Mr. President's nominee for the position of the Chief of the Air Staff for the Nigerian Air Force. Thank you very much.
The Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Christopher Musa, says under his watch, the armed forces shall continue to serve the Nigerian people dutifully and in line with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and other extant provisions of the law.
In provisioning for our uniform in men in uniform, under my watch, the armed forces shall continue to serve the Nigerian people dutifully and in line with the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and other extant provisions of the laws of the Federation.
The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Taoreed Lagbaja, acknowledges the volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous nature of the contemporary security environment, but pledges his readiness to surmount the challenges.
The volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous nature of our contemporary security environment makes leadership challenging and therefore demands new skills that are proactive, adaptive, and inclusive. And I make bold to say that is what I intend to bring on board as the Chief of Army Staff. I shall do my best to justify the confidence reposed in me by His Excellency, the Commander-in-Chief, and the larger Nigerian society.
The Chief of the Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala, during his presentation said he fully understands the challenges facing the Nigerian Navy.
I fully understand the challenges of facing the Nigerian Navy. In line with our statutory roles, which is the defense of the nation's territorial integrity from the maritime domain, as well as the policing roles of protecting the nation's resources and contribution to military aid to civil power, I am fully prepared to carry out these roles.
He assured Nigerians of his readiness for the job with a promise to put in his best to improve existing strategies and develop new ones to secure the nation's maritime waters.
I will put in my best to be able to accomplish the standard. I'm going to build on the strategies that have been put in place in the past. I'm going to improve on these strategies, for instance, our choke point operations regime and other operations which we have started. I'm going to develop these strategies and build on it.
He says, as part of his command philosophy, his leadership of the Navy will be totally committed to leading with integrity, courage, and relentless pursuit of excellence.
My mandate, my command philosophy, as the Chief of Naval Staff, I will be committed to leading with integrity, courage, and relentless pursuit of excellence. I believe in the power of teamwork, discipline, and human capacity development. My goal is to ensure that every Nigerian Navy personnel and civilian staff is equipped, trained, and ready to execute our mission effectively. I expect all personnel to hold these high standards of professionalism, ethics, and respect for human rights.
He added that he would collaborate with other services to secure the nation's waterways, as well as strengthen regional cooperation.
I'm also going to improve on regional cooperation and interagency collaboration. I thank God that we are in a regime whereby the mandate is to ensure that all the services collaborate, and I am ready and prepared to do just that.
The Chief of Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Hassan Abubakar, says he would mobilize the nation's air power to ensure peace and security in the country, in line with the aspiration of the President, saying a lot more needs to be done to revamp the fighting capabilities of the Nigerian Air Force, and he is ready to lead on the job.
The government's commitment is demonstrative of its willingness to lead in combating regional threats to peace and security in the West African sub-region and the continent at large. Bearing in mind the huge investment by the government, a lot is expected on the Nigerian Air Force to deliver on its mandate and ensure peace returns to troubled spots in the country. It is on this premise that we intend to provide justification to government for the support we are enjoying so far and even as the rebuilding efforts continues. Therefore, though our ultimate focus will remain our war-fighting capability, immediate steps will be taken to institute the NAF as relevant to government's everyday peacetime development efforts as possible.
After a long period of questions from Senate Committee of the Whole and due responses from the service chiefs, the Senate thereby confirmed the nominees as service chiefs of the Nigerian Armed Forces.
Will the Senate confirm the nomination of Major General C.J. Musa as Chief of Defense Staff? Those in favor of the confirmation say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. C.J. Musa, Major General, is hereby confirmed as Chief of Defense Staff. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Major General T.A. Lagbaja as Chief of Army Staff? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Major General T.A. Lagbaja is hereby confirmed as the Chief of Army Staff. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala as Chief of Naval Staff? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Rear Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala is hereby confirmed as Chief of Naval Staff. Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Air Vice Marshal H.B. Abubakar as Chief of Air Staff? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Air Vice Marshal H.B. Abubakar is hereby confirmed as Chief of Air Staff.
Similarly, as part of the constitutional processes for the final confirmation of the nation's security chiefs, the House of Representatives on Monday 17th July screened the nominees. The screening was conducted by an ad hoc committee constituted by Speaker of the House of Representatives Tajuddin Abbas and chaired by Honorable Babajimi Benson, with all the 8 principal officers of the House from the majority and minority parties as members. And on Wednesday, 19th July 2023, the House of Representatives confirmed the appointments of the service chiefs following the adoption of the screening committee. The screening and confirmation of the service chiefs, whose appointments were transmitted to the Senate by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR for legislative action following the screening by the Committee of the Whole presided over by the Senate President Godswill Akpabio and the House Ad Hoc Committee, further demonstrates commitment to the rule of law and the separation of power of the arms of government.
the Nigerian Armed Forces and other security agencies in keeping Nigerians safe and secured. Until next week, when we shall come your way again, I am Jibrin Baba Ndachi. Onward together.